Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Fengyun Dota 2 battle. Here we have a best-of-3 series between DK and Tongfu Wanzhou. Of course, it is game number 2. Looking forward to casting for you here on Beyond the Summit. Thank you for joining us. My name is Maud, and with me tonight, of course, is the one and only Base Skip. How are you, sir?
Yeah, doing pretty well. Looking forward to game 2. And Tongfu WZ have to do something this game. Otherwise, that could just be the end of their run. In this competition, unfortunately. It's single elimination up until we get to the semifinals, so being at 0-1 right now is a bit of stress for them.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough hill to climb. They certainly can do it. Obviously, you mentioned single elimination. Of course, this is the round of 16. As of right now, there's a lot of teams going against, maybe sort of teams that are kind of the underdogs here, and Tongfu Wanzhou certainly fits that description. They've had a tough time in the WPC Ace League right now. They had a tough time in the Game 1 here in this best-of-3 series, and DK just had a very strong draft. There's a couple things they can do to get back into this, and it really all starts with the draft here. So we'll see what they want to pick up in terms of supports, in terms of carries, in terms of really just their lineup in general. The last game, I think, was just dominated by Burning, obviously, on that carry. Lanham had some really great split earths, and I think the supports kind of dominated for Team DK, plus Mushi on that mid-OD.
Yeah, and DK, that's the kind of thing that happens with their lineup. I mean, you can see that Tongfu WZ are really focusing on kind of banning out Ice Ice Ice. There are a couple of heroes that a lot of people say, like, you just can't give Ice 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 Clockwork or Timbersaw, or you're in for an awful time. So that's sort of probably why we didn't see so much of Ice 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 in the last game, but of course they've got such strong players, everybody else can just step up and do what needs to be done. So, pretty interesting draft so far, lots of familiar faces. Pretty much just all of your beefy heroes, the Elder Titan is going to end up sneaking through.
And honestly, I don't really like this pickup, just because in 6.79C he was nerfed a little bit, and the rest of the Chinese teams so far, at least in the WPC Ace League, for the majority of the playoffs, they didn't pick this up. They didn't even think about banning it because his base damage and Astral Spirit has been nerfed so much. He's still effective as an offlaner and really as a mid laner as well, but just not quite as much. Even with Natural Order, though, that's always kind of a thing that you've got to worry about here. So.
Yeah, and looks like DK maybe have something specific in mind, so that they've seen this sort of draft a little bit before, because there's no hesitation in picking up the Visage and the Nature's Prophet. I wouldn't say that DK run a whole lot of Nature's Prophet. I think Ice 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 plays the hero very well. He was probably one of the best offlane Nature's Prophets in the game back when, tri-lanes are more of a thing, and before 6.79 sort of turned everything on its head. But it looks like they might be practicing something a little bit different here, and it'll be interesting to see where the draft takes us.
Yeah, it's experimenting, and that's kind of the sign of any good Dota team. They want to try some things out here against Wanzhou, and obviously they still are very comfortable with the lineup that they have currently. That can change very drastically depending on what they pick up and any crazy sort of heroes. You mentioned how tri-lanes kind of have fallen out of favor. Back in the previous patch, they were all the rage, if you will, but now not so much. Rubik's coming out for Tongfu Wanzhou. So, I mean, tri-lanes coming out. Does this mean that maybe DK goes for something like a Chen or Enchantress here to free up their lanes to maybe get more off the map, or do they go for that tri-lane that we saw in the last game?
I'm not sure. I think there is a little bit more incentive to pick up your jungler just because you have the Visage and you do want to try and get some early levels up on him. So they could maybe even just look towards throwing a Crystal Maiden in the jungle. You could go for your full jungler, as you mentioned, like the Enchantress or the Chen. But right now they've got plenty of options. I do think it hinges a little bit on how much counter push Tongfu Wanzhou are going to pick up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will see them go for that potentially here as the draft rolls on. There's a minute left in reserve time. The Luna coming out for Wanzhou just to make sure that that's not what Burning can pick up in this game. We saw the Alchemist last game. That's not available. DK does the smart thing. They know they don't have that first pick up. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to give them the Alchemist. We're just going to stick with the Visage and Nature's Prophet. No need to get crazy here. So the bans are going to come out right now. The Elder Titan, the Rubik are already picked up for Wanzhou. The Jatrocopter as well. So, I mean, with DK, Visage and Nature's Prophet, strong start for them. It's not quite the sports they had in the last game. The Leshrac has been picked up a lot more recently. Is that something that we'll see, from here on out with the way the metagame works and how pushing and fighting happens? Or is that just kind of a niche pickup, if you will?
10 seconds remaining.
I think part of it's to do with how various supports sort of rise to the top and then they get bopped on the head, sort of back down to the same level as everybody else.
Yeah.
So it just recently happened kind of with Crystal Maiden, and it keeps happening with Visage, but 4-second soul assumption cooldown and familiars are always going to keep him really, really popular. So I think it's just sort of to do with that. We used to see lots of Shadow Demon and Leshrac and stuff, and just other supports turned out to be a better fit for the meta, and when those supports get nerfed, well, the other supports start looking a little bit more attractive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know about you, but I really like this Storm Spirit pickup coming out from DK. That's a hero that's really effective against the Nature's Prophet, but they pick it up for themselves, and I really think that it's a really great hero in combination with maybe even a Lifestealer, which is still available too. So I don't know. I like this pickup a lot for Team DK.
Yeah, and it's a pretty interesting move from Mushi. Some drafters at this point would maybe pick up your other support and try and fish for a little bit more information, but the Storm Spirit is now sort of changing the way that the draft is going to be playing out for Tongfu Wanzhou. They're probably going to pick up some heroes to try and deal with the Storm Spirit because they only have a Telekinesis to lock him down right now, and in doing that, DK might make space to pick up something else that they want, maybe something like a Clinks or another hero that you do need to set up a little bit more. You even mentioned the Lifestealer, and I think it could be a great pickup here.
Yeah, absolutely. And another hero that works very effectively against the Storm Spirit is the Doom. But they go for Weaver on Wanzhou's side, which is interesting.
I find the Weaver a little bit surprising. I mean, you just saw the Storm Spirit, you're thinking, okay, we have to deal with the Storm Spirit. One, we need a little bit more lockdown, and two, we need heroes that don't just die to Storm Spirit. And Weaver is a hero that if he has a bad start, then he's just going to be fodder for the Storm this game.
Not to mention an Orc Malevolence up on the Storm, which is a direct counter to a Weaver, obviously. That Silence can deal a bit of damage and be generally problematic for that Weaver. So, yeah, I'm just as surprised as you are, I think. And lockdown is always nice to have against the Storm Spirit. Weaver doesn't really provide that, at all. So I think Wanzhou just wanted to get something that they feel comfortable with, but in the same time, they're not really drafting to the strengths or, I guess, the weaknesses of DK. They're drafting to the strengths of themselves and what they like playing more likely than not, which I don't mind. But still, the draft, I think, is going decisively in the way of DK so far. They have that Lifestealer pickup if necessary, if they want to go that route, which we talked about a little bit. So, we'll wait to see as the reserve time takes down here in this, of course, second game draft.
Yeah, DK still have plenty of options, and they go for the VS, so looking like they might be pushing a little bit to start things off, maybe get that fast tier 1 tower, again, same kind of way that they did against the Timbersaw in game 1. Could even roam around a little bit, but unfortunately Visage not the best partner to roam with.
He's really not. He can do a lot. He can, obviously if he gets Visage Birds, he can push early on. Soul Assumption is, like you said, 4-second cooldown, and that's kind of disgusting. Grave Chill is good for catching heroes out of position, but, going and roaming on mid is something he's not very good at. But Dragon Knight is going to come out from Wanzhou again, and this is questionable because they run it in the last game, and yes, it does work against the Stormster, which I like a lot, but it didn't really work too well for them in the previous game, so I'm not sure how this is going to go for them.
Yeah, I like the Dragon Knight. It gives them a stun on mid, which I think they still really lack. Like you mentioned, he does pretty well against the Storm Spirit, and I don't think he's too worried about being ganked. Yes, there's a threat of a Vengeful Spirit smoking in, and you get stunned, and the Prophet TPs, and then you're in trouble, but I think for the most part, should be fine. And it does help escalate things a little bit more towards the late game, so I feel that there's less pressure on Tongfu Wanzhou to be making plays this game. If they can just sit back, hold the more defensive Radiant side of the map, and just secure their farm, then I think they're already looking alright for this game.
But that's the problem. That's the problem with the metagame, and we've seen it so often in the past couple of days. It's just like, teams are willing to fight very early on here, and that's not something Wanzhou has a whole lot of. It's like, yeah, you got another Titan, that's great, and you got a Dragon Knight who can fight just as early, but, Weaver still needs farm. Rubik is not the best early, support, so I feel like DK has that advantage because they have the Nature's Prophet who can come in early. Storm Spirit is by definition an early game hero with, of course, his Ball Lightning and just jumping in and out of fights. So I'm not sure. DK should be aggressive here, and Wanzhou might get punished for it.
Yeah, I want to see what I really want to see what DK have planned here, because if they really wanted the Lifestealer, they could have just taken it. I think there's a slim to zero chance that the Vengeful Spirit gets banned. If you pick the Lifestealer fourth. So, looks like Mushi has something else that he wanted to keep up his sleeve, or again, maybe just wanted a little bit more information. So, we'll see what they end up going for here.
Yeah, it looks like there's no way they pick the Vengeful Spirit over the Lifestealer, like you mentioned. So, it's something else that they've got in mind. Maybe it's just like you mentioned, the draft coming through from Wanzhou. They wanted to see what's coming out from them. But they do have that reserve time coming out from Team DK, and it's actually getting rather low. They still need that kind of carry hero. Obviously, Vengeful Spirit and Visage aren't going to do it for you unless you're very brash and want to go for a carry Venge, which that's not DK's style. They go for the Juggernaut instead, and that's just as early game of a lineup coming out as a lifestealer, you know, because you have that ultimate, that Omni Slash, which is very effective, and you get an early Aghanims, and just like that, DK starts wrecking people, so...
Yeah, and it gives them another... They're a great lineup for taking Roshan as well, and it's worth mentioning because they are over on the dire side. So if they ever stall, so they get 2 tier 1s, and then Tongfu Wanzhou are just sitting back really defensively and not giving you any opportunities to go and gank them, you can just either go and take Roshan for free or force a fight at the Roshan pit that you feel you're likely to win. So I really like it here from DK.
Yep, and another thing about that is the healing ward, which is why they can be so effective early on. And take those Roshans, take those fights as well. We'll have to be very careful. Wanzhou should be able to pick that healing ward off if they're, you know, obviously on the ball. And they need another hero, though, and that should be a farming hero, as they have the Dragonite, but that's most likely going to go mid once more. Well, actually, they pick up the Enchantress, so I'm not really sure what they're going to do with this, but still not a bad hero, and we'll see what DK does to limit this Enchantress's effectiveness in this game so far.
I really like this Enchantress pickup. I'm really hoping that they can get some good roaming going on between the Enchantress and the Rubik early, because that could make life difficult for the Storm Spirit, and if you can keep the Storm Spirit down, then I think you're in a decent spot. He's the only real initiator for DK, and if they really want to be 5-manning, he'd like to be in a comfortable spot as opposed to, you know, sitting up top lane trying to grab some farm while the rest of his team is actually doing stuff. So I would say maybe a bold pick from Tongfu Wanzhou, but let's see how they can use it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be, I think, the key to victory here, is really how well can they use their heroes to fight effectively early on, because we know DK is going to be putting in the pressure here, and with XPG on that, you know, Enchantress, they can get an early creep, they can roam on mid, they can do something here to, of course, just be effective in the early game. But this is going to be game number 2. We'll get a quick pause as we jump into the game, sadly, but you know, what would Dota be without a couple of pauses? We will get some introductions here as soon as Wanzhou gets their last player in, more likely than not. But I don't know, man. I really do prefer DK's draft just a little bit, because it's all about, like, the past couple of days I've just seen fighting is just so nice early on, and that's really what they have, just fighting a lot early.
The one pickup that I was thinking for Tongfu was just maybe go for the Crystal Maiden. You can still jungle her, it's still fine. And it's amazing with Elder Titan, Weaver, and DK as well. It gives them, all 3 of them, a lot of additional spam, and I think the one thing for the Weaver this game as well is that he might be pressured towards a BKB, and in that case you do sometimes see the bottle into BKB build, but I think with the Crystal Maiden you can get away with maybe you just buy an urn and then move towards the BKB. So this Enchantress has to do work, I think, is the main point.
Just gotta get lucky with the Centaur early on and maybe just roam mid or just try to force towers down, and it's gonna be tough because I don't know if DK's gonna give them a whole lot of wiggle room because of how resourceful their heroes can be. The Nature's Prophet can be pretty much all over the map, and you know, you look at the Juggernaut, if you're out of position they can catch out an easy kill as well. Mushi is gonna be all over the map on top of that. So DK is not going to really give them an inch here, and Tongfu doesn't have an inch to take, so you know, there is going to be a reconnect in the game. And with that, let's just talk about the lineups here real quick, as we'll do some introductions. On the side of DK, we'll have Burning on the Juggernaut, Lanham on the Vengeful Spirit, Mushi will be on the Storm Spirit, and Meanwhile will be on the Visage, and Ice, aka XPX, will be on the Nature's Prophet. And basically, why don't you go ahead and do the Radiant Team Tongfu.
Yeah, so over on Tongfu, we've got MT handling the Elder Titan, CJZ is going to be on the Weaver, Mary is the Rubik, XPG is the Enchantress, and that leaves U9 to handle the Dragon Knight.
So that'll round out their lineup, and we'll see what they want to do. Like we mentioned, it's probably going to be this Dragon Knight farming down to the bottom lane in that dual lane, so he'll get effective farm. XBG on the Enchantress. Actually, I'm not sure because they're roaming everyone down here now, but I think that's what it should be, and probably do Weaver off lane, maybe even the Elder Titan mid or vice versa. That seems to be the most common thing for me.
It's probably ET off, safe lane Weaver, DK mid.
Yeah.
ET's already got boots picked up, so I think he's definitely
he's
in
definitely
the off
lane. Yep, you're right.
This is the right move from Tongfu. They need to defend their jungle. They can't afford to have everything warded up. So just show of force, they bring all 5 down, and Well, they do need to be careful. I don't think they actually want to take a fight here. Mary walks forward.
Oh, no.
He's going to get stunned straight into a spin, and he's just dead. That's first blood.
Oh, he is very dead. That's just an easy kill. They just stood right here behind the trees, just waiting for maybe somebody to be caught out of position. And, well, just like that, they were. And that kill does go for Mushi on the Storm Spirit. Wow, he's pretty happy about that. That's actually a Null Talisman done for him right off the bat. So, actually, nope. He sells it, I think. He put it in his stash and then sold it. Interestingly,
he buys boots instead.
Yeah,
I really like this decision because he knows that he might be pressured a little bit by the Enchantress and the Rubik early, and there's a chance with boots that he reveals the smoke and manages to run away from the Rubik, and the Rubik's the only way that they have to set up the kill before DK gets level 6. So I think the boots are great just as a safety mechanism here for him.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Obviously, the Null Talisman will give you a bit of more, last-standing potential, but I don't know if you really need that up against the DK. He's not going to do his best to deny. He's just going to be breathing fire and just trying to do work. It is going to be the defensive tri-lane coming out for DK. You can see the farming hero Burning will be in that top lane, already helping out, grabbing that kill with the assist. So it is that off-lane Elder Titan, like you mentioned, always going for boots first in the off-lane generally for most heroes. Mid-lane DK, and then the solo, or not solo, but safe lane farming CJZ on the Weaver. And so, yep, you called it exactly as you saw it here. Ice 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 is already taking Shikuchi damage, and just like in that top lane, Ice 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 has boots as well. So we'll see what can go on early here, and I think Tongfu Wanzhou, they've got to pick something up right now to get them going in this game.
Yeah, I think the Enchantress is the one to watch. Again, she's got a smoke picked up. She gets a lucky creep. I think they have to try for something. They could maybe instead try for Ice Ice Ice. And just look at how much of a nuisance Ice 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 is on this Nature's Prophet. This is why I called him maybe the best offlane Nature's Prophet player back when it was up against Trilanes, because he just blocks your camps forever. He will just not let this Rubik get a pull-off so long as he has mana. All three of these camps have been blocked out by Ice Ice Ice.
I mean, that's superb. The fact that he's able to do that, make, of course, another set of treants just to be able to last hit and harass is absolutely kind of unbelievable. So, and he'll keep doing this. You see him sending in the treants once again, and then this is, I think, just to sit here and have them be annoying and maybe even scout things out. It's a little too early to block, and they might even go down before the allotted time. You can see they've only got 10 seconds left on them, so they're just sitting here for now for whatever reason. There's a roam. You mentioned the Enchantress. She's got to be effective early on. Going to look for a kill on Mushi. Mushi, there's going to be a Hellbear Smash, maybe. He can't get to him in time, and he's going to leave. And you talked about it. That's the boots coming into huge effect for Mushi right now.
Yeah, and Dragon Knight's even ready to try and set up some of these kills. He's got the point in Dragon Tail. If you weren't expecting to do anything to the Storm Spirit early, I think you would just get the second point in Breathe Fire, but I was hoping to do something. Oh, Lanham denies the rune.
He's sad.
U9.
Yeah, he's very sad right now in U9, and Dragon Knight's going to have to go back. He's like, no more regen. He does have some more mana to spam that Breathe Fire, at least for a bit. Nature's Prophet actually canceled his TP. He was just kind of saying, I can come in there and go for a gank, just kind of just flexing his muscles, if you will, but so far, everything is, I guess, even other than that kill early on going for Mushi, which helps him out a lot.
Yeah, and Mushi's already level 4, so that window of opportunity to actually try and gank him is closing very quickly.
Which, I mean, yeah, because the ball lightning's going to be up in a couple levels, and then what are you going to do after that? Really not much. I mean, trying to catch him out of position is easier said than done, so you have to also keep in mind that Enchantress roamed out, which makes them lose a bit of experience and gold, because you're taking time to go to the mid lane and try to grab a kill, and it just doesn't pan out for you. Mushi's like, I'm fine, I'm just going to go back to farming right now. So, and also the offlane Nature's Prophet has done an effective job of getting last hits with 6, and the Elder Titan's got 0. So suddenly it's looking like DK is, DK again. But it looks like Ice 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 actually goes back home for now, interestingly enough.
Ice 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 just going to back off. Needs some mana to actually do anything. He might just duck into the jungle for a little bit, carry a TP scroll, be ready to go bot if the Enchantress chooses to push. They've also got a ward down here, so you should have a pretty good idea of a push is happening. We've actually got 4-man gank making its way top lane. Poor MT.
Oh yeah, he should very well die here. He has boots, but there's a magic missile, Sprout, maybe no Sprout, but treants are coming through. MT not going the right way. I feel like there's going to be the magic missile coming up. Astral Spirit doing a bit of damage, but they're all too quick. You can see MT with those boots is actually fairly speedy. Here we go. Blade Fury from Burning. They're going to try to take this tower down, at least the creep wave first, but no kill on the hero. Let's go for a tower instead.
And, well, if Tongfu WZ aren't ready, they might just lose 2 here. I like the response, they're going to try and take a tier 1 of their own on bottom lane while this is happening. So I think it might just end up being the 1-for-1. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and we'll see if DK want to continue on pushing. It looks like they will. MMY burning, leading the way, and it looks like Tongfu want to try to do the same here, but already there's a hero backing off that is going to be the Rubik, and a teleportation scroll, used from XPX. Ice is here to ready to go and just try to defend this on his own, but the push is not stopping in the top lane as well.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Ice saw like 2 creep waves worth of experience in gold, and he said, "Guys, you can handle this by yourself. I'm gonna go get some farm." So things are looking really good for Ice right now. And Elder Titan hasn't really been able to stop this push on top lane. DK just going to keep on going, and nobody is moving to try and help out. U9 does have a TP scroll, but he's just kind of hanging on to it for now.
They're actually going to try to go for a dive here on XPX. Ice. Telekinesis back, not on the high ground. He's going to try to TP out. Can he make it in time? A lot of damage. Oh, he'll go down in the well. He is very sad. That should have been the kill. Sadly, he does go down. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
I did notice, I wonder if his corpse actually made it back to the well. Maybe he denied experience to the support.
I'm not sure how that works. That's crazy. I mean, his corpse was there, just lying in the well there, but nonetheless, that's still unfortunate. Of course, now their 2-2 goes down in the end. They'll have to back off his burning his TP to down bottom, and he's got phase boots already, so he's pretty happy about life, I think.
Things are looking just fine for DK, I would say. They didn't manage to grab the tier 2 on top, so I guess overall call it actually a little bit of a win for Tongfu. They got a fairly important kill. They held onto their own tower. Unfortunately, the tower does end up being denied, but I think so far they're keeping the pace with DK.
Yeah, and they need to, because I feel like they're going to be all over the map split pushing. Even though you have an enchantment coming out from Wanzhou, it's not going to be as effective as an Nature's Prophet with phase boots and just the damage coming out from DK, especially with the Visage Birds on top of that. So, MT, Ball Lightning's going to come in from Mushi. Looking for a kill on MT right now. There's the Static Remnant, or the Overload coming in. The pull as well. Soul Assumption, Grave Chill flying through. MT will fall to MMY. Nice kill there. It's a big pickup on that offlane hero. And Mushi's involved in that one.
Yeah, and Mushi's having a great start. He's already got one Oblivion staff picked up, so he's going to be pretty dangerous. How's the Weaver's farm going? CJZ is just working towards a Lincoln Sphere right now, so he's not going to be combat ready for a very long time. And the supports haven't pulled the wave back. Burning is just keeping this in position and treating the off lane as a safe lane right now. So these supports really need to go and run this pull and get the Weaver back into safe territory. Yeah,
instead they're sitting right around that mid lane, just kind of either jungling together or just looking for a smoke, it looks like. You can see all 3 heroes are ready to go here. MT's going to be a part of this as well. We'll see where they would want to go for this. Maybe the mid lane, perhaps up into the top lane even, into the top jungle. We'll see who leads the way. It is going to be that Dark Troll Warlord coming out from XBC. Ooh, this could be a big gank. A good pickup for them as well in MMY if they find him out of position.
Yes, it's a pretty big time investment, hopefully. Best case scenario is they get the kill, and I don't know if they get the tower, but I think they might just be able to get some nice wards down or something like that. MMY is suspicious, but he really wants level 6. That might be his undoing here.
MMY, no, Telekinesis, the Ensnare, the Dragon Tail. You can see the Astral Spirit, not enough damage just yet. Soul Assumption's going to fly, doesn't matter. Dragon Knight grabbing that kill easily, and yeah, he really wanted that 6, and might have been his downfall there. He did get it in the end, but still.
Yeah, he gambled and he lost. I mean, if they'd been 5 seconds further away, he probably would have grabbed 6, summoned the birds, and then just backed off, but it doesn't end up working out for him.
I do like this from DK, though, the immediate counter pressure on the mid-tier 1 tower. Burning's the only one in the top lane. He's got enough mana for an Omni Slash, but there's like 30,000 creeps around here, and, well, that's probably just going to be a tier 1 trade, at least for now. Dragon Knight grabbing that tier 1 tower. Mid lane, it's going to be the VS getting the last hit there. And so the trades are going on the towers right now, and it actually is, I think, going the way of Tongfu, but no, actually, look at the gold. DK is still leading by 2,000, and the experience as well, interestingly enough.
Yeah, and I'm not so sure about these trades for Tongfu, because as we talked about it in the draft, I feel that they're the lineup that's going to be better if they can just hold on to their territory, keep control of the jungle, and just really have that space to farm. Because DK are less concerned. Ice can find farm wherever he needs to. He can go Ancients, he can go jungle. That's all fine. Taking out this tier 1 on the top lane I don't feel that it really opens up the map that much for Tongfu WZ. I don't know how many aggressive ganks they're going to be making into the Dire jungle. Meanwhile, for DK, taking this tier 1 mid, I think is a really big deal because they are the more aggressive lineup. They're the ones looking to shut Tongfu WZ out of the farm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't even know if that trade is worthwhile at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, if Tongfu want to go for a gank, they have to go buy this tier 1 tower into the jungle, and they also have no vision there as well, whereas that tier 1 tower in the top lane, or excuse me, mid lane is a big pickup for them, like you mentioned. They still have that tier 1 they have to deal with, but they're going to rectify that situation very quickly because they're all down here looking like they want to push this as of right now.
Radiant's bottom tower.
Tongfu WZ just kind of hanging around. Nobody's really applying any pressure anywhere. DK's going to try and walk in towards mid, but realizing that there's only one hero really backing him up, so tier 1 absolutely for free.
Yeah.
There.
And DK, they want to try to fight this, it looks like, or at least just defend their tier 1 mid. Mushi's actually invisible, and they know he TP'd in. They saw the color, obviously. They saw the TP, and they don't really just want to feed free kills to Storm Spirit, so they'll back off, especially since he already has that one Oblivion Staff, which is going to be part of a pretty quick Orchid Malevolence. Drum's done for burning as of right now, and he hasn't used his Omni Slash yet, but he can obviously go whenever he needs to. Mushi's just sitting here, just scouting things out. He's got no real backup, and making sure he knows if they're going to Ro16, because that's exactly what DK are doing at this point. They have the Healing Ward up, they have the Familiars out from MMY, I believe, and they have also XPX with his Treant. So, quick Ro16 with Medallion helping them out here. So.
And eventually Tongfu WZ are actually going to have to take a fight. They can't afford to just continue to give away objectives, and they have to make a decision about what pickup they might be able to work towards before that happens. The Weaver, I don't even know if he's going to be able to finish his Lincolns. MT is not really close to anything too big, so they might just have to decide to take a fight with the items that they have. They're not really close to any significant timings, and I don't think they can afford to give away these tier 2s.
They really can't, because that just means less map control for them and less farm that they're going to be getting. They really would like to have that mech first and foremost, I feel like, for the Elder Titan, but that timing's just not there. And you look at what DK, they say, we want to fight, and we want to fight now. We don't care what you have, because we have the items that we want to have to kill you with. So, and especially their towers as well. Maybe not their tier 3s, but the tier 2s for sure are going to be taking a quick and orderly fall, as you can see. So Tongfu is doing what they can to try to push this back. The Tornado's already up in the Wild Wing Ripper, which they're just going to stun that and make sure he can't use that for another minute or so, sadly enough. Wave of Terror does fly out just to make sure they catch things out of position. Lanham's going to back off as Nature's Prophet grabs the last hit on that tower. And DK, once again, they're just strangle-holding as they've done in the previous game. So with a 5,000 gold lead and a 4,000 experience lead, they're in a position right now where they're just going to keep roaming through towers. But can Tongfu really fight? Do they let the tier 2 towers go even though they don't have the items? Or do they actually have to initiate and try to maybe catch them out of position with the smoke?
I think you have to try something. If the DK have this game firmly by the reins, if things continue going the way that they are, it's just going to end up with Tongfu WZ pinned inside their base, no items, DK farm for however long they want, get 2 or 3 core items up, and then just push high ground to end the game. I mean, Mushi's getting really close to having this Orchid finished, and he's got another Invis rune somehow.
Oh yeah, and he's actually going to use that effectively on CJZ. The TP coming in, time-lapse is available, and used coming out from the Weaver. He'll live. Sprout animation went for Ice, however not completely used. He'll cancel it, they'll back off. That Orchid is up online for Mushi, that's a dead Weaver. But in the end, there's actually initiation on the backside. The Elder Titan using his Earth Splitter, already one down. Burning's still alive. He has the Age of Soul Assumption. Now Mushi's in. Age is going to get used. There's a hero dead. That's the Weaver coming out. Unai, Medallion on him. However, MMY taking a lot of damage there. It's a 2-for-1 trade in the end. Burning will back off. A bit of an interesting trade. They'll survive for now, but still losing those heroes. Not as effective a trade as they wanted.
I think that was 100% the right call from Tongfu WZ. Mushi tried for that kill top, didn't get it. There were only 3 heroes pushing mid. Tongfu WZ kind of realized a little bit late, like, why are we letting 3 heroes take our tier 2 tower when we have 4 sitting right here? So they do end up looping around. They pick up a couple of kills. They unfortunately wasted their glyph. I think they tried to glyph it at very low HP, but it actually died before they got it off. So a little bit of an extra loss there, and they have to do something. There's now a gem up on the Visage. The Orchid is finished on Mushi. They did lose the Aegis, but this is again where they just make a pass, deward everything, farm your jungle, farm their jungle, get whatever they want, and kind of go from there. So this is where Tongfu WZ really need to connect the smoke or just do something. Like, I don't think they can sit around and farm at this point.
Because it's not going to help them. I mean, XPC has a Midas, but that's fantastic, really, in comparison. I mean, honestly, Burning's got his point booster up, and that's just going to be an Aghanim Scepter done soon. And Mushi already has his first big item with that Orchid Malevolence, like you talked about. So, yeah, you've got a Midas, great, but is this game going to go 10 minutes longer? I'm not sure myself. U9 is sitting on pretty much nothing. He's got 2,000 gold in the bank, however, plus the brace from the power treads. And I think the mech should be done soon for this Elder Titan, and actually is about 100 or so gold away from that. And at least he'll have that to be able to fight a little bit longer and survive in those big team fights. Still, though, like you mentioned, is farming really going to help you? Maybe go for a smoke gank. They're not really grouping up right now, and I don't know. It's, I think, really just punishing them in the long run here.
Yeah, I'm also wondering, do you think I don't know if the Dragon Knight goes for a BKB or if he just tries to go for a Shadow Blade here. I mean, the BKB is going to be nice in the team fights, but I guess you maybe just have to go for the BKB.
I don't think you go for the Shadow Blade because it's all about catching heroes out of position, and DK's like 5-manning at this point. It's never a bad item, but like I feel like with the BKB, at least Tongfu have a better chance of surviving, and he won't get bursted down as much, especially against the Storm Spirit, which is a huge chunk of damage. So BKB should be his next item, at least I think so, but who knows.
The only reason that I bring up the thought is that this is getting towards the point where you have to start making the riskier plays.
Yes,
like,
agreed.
Again, saying that if things keep going the way that they are going, Tongfu are probably going to lose this game. You can't rely on DK making some stupid mistake as far as teamfight execution or something like that to turn the game around. You have to have your own plan in terms of how you're going to do it. And sometimes that involves, just being a little bit riskier. Because right now, Tongfu WZ are just pinned in their base. They've got a little bit of vision, but they haven't been able to really do anything with it. And the gem is already doing its rounds, so that vision's not going to last too long.
Yeah, and especially since they already... I mean, I do agree with you. They need to make the riskier decision, especially since this Weaver is really not doing anything. I mean, he's got a Perseverance and an Ultimate Orb, and how many times have we seen a Weaver just try to go for Lincolns and not get it at the timing he wanted, especially in this patch? And he actually does go for the Shadow Blade, which we were talking about, and I guess if he's going for a riskier play, I like it. I like it a lot. So they're going to smoke up. They'll look for Shadow Blade initiation. The damage will be a little bit more, at least, from the DK. They're actually pinging up into the top, secret shop here. Maybe in the top, of course, Ancient Camp. But everybody is down really bottom for DK, except for, of course, Ice Ice is going to be there in a moment anyways.
Yeah, this is the problem, that they're just completely blind. They have to make a completely random guess as to where Team DK are, and you can only, it can only be so well informed. So I really like the move from Tongfu WZ, but I think DK kind of suspect that it's happening, and they're just going to keep on 5-manning. And even if they don't suspect, I think 5-manning is still the right move. So
agreed. They did have that one ward, but that really didn't give them any vision, like you mentioned. They're pretty much blind, and that's an Aghanim Scepter done at 17 minutes. And I don't even think Juggernauts. He actually doesn't even have his level 2 ult. He will in about right now, which is nice, but. That's just a really early timing for that, and that's just been what DK's had throughout this entire series so far. So the smoke didn't do much from Tongfu. They maybe need to try to keep doing that, but I don't know what they're going to be able to find out here. So it's just a bit of a, I guess, an impasse for them right now. As DK continues to farm, they're getting more off the map. They're farming the jungles, both of them, effectively. And do they wait for the next? Roshan, or do they just try to push it now?
I think DK wait for the next Roshan. I mean, there's no way for them to know whether or not it's going to be 4 minutes from now or 1 minute from now, but I think they still wait. They just play it safe. They're farming towards a mech on the Visage as well. And I think that Roshan's going to be the next big timing as well for Tongfu. Obviously, we could have some pickoffs in between and things like that, but I don't think that they can afford to give away the Roshan to DK. So expect them to maybe try and fight out to that. The problem is knowing when it's going to happen, and also dealing with Ice 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 just non-stop split pushing your top lane. Because you can't deal with Ice 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 and take 5 heroes to the Roshan pit.
Yeah, if they take the 5 heroes to Roshan, there's a chance they lose that set of racks. If they try to deal with Ice Ice Ice, then they lose the Roshan and Aegis. you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't right now for Tongfu, I feel like, and it continues to be that way. They'll smoke up once again, and this time they actually are heading in the right direction as DK has 2 heroes scouting around right now. There is that Gem of Truth set up on MMY. They'll make their way up to the bottom rune spot here, and maybe even further into, of course, the Ancient Camp, but you know, we're still seeing Tongfu grouping up, looking as 5, and DK by all means should know something's happening here. They do see MT in the mid lane, but he's the only one on the map.
The Weaver gave away the smoke. So he was smoked, he Shikuchi through the wave, he saw the familiars, he threw out an attack on the familiars, and DK saw Weaver appear out of nowhere. And they pinged it, and they just backed off and grouped up again. So that's the second smoke down, and yeah, this is... I really like that Tongfu are making this move. I think it's the right decision strategically, but unfortunately DK are just way too savvy, and they're not greedy enough either. Some teams you would see like one person is farming the Radiant jungle, one person is farming the Dire jungle, and they've got one person in each lane, so they're all split up and they're vulnerable to being picked off, but yeah, they're sniffing out these ganks really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that last smoke gone, that's down for about 3 minutes now for Tongfu. That's the last one they could have picked up, and so this is a big problem for them, because now if they want to get to the Ro16 pit, they won't be able to do it as quickly, and I guess as secretly, even though it's probably not a secret if TK is doing Roche. Still, at the same time, though, now they're just grouping up as 5 and trying to take a tier 1 tower, which it looks like DK is going to try to group up and defend, as Burning's going to run right on, and there is that Lincoln Sphere. Somebody take that off with the Nature's Wrath, I believe. That should have been the Nature's Prophet. Burning sitting here. He has that Aghanim Scepter Omni Slash. There's a creep wave there. He might not want to use it. Spell was stolen. That is actually the Healing Ward, which is very big pickup coming out for the Rubik. This is Familiar Stuns coming onto the ground now. They'll push this back, and Tongfu, I don't know what they can do. They want to try to fight here, but there's actually a TP now coming in from the backside from the Nature's Prophet. It looks like they want to wrap around. Now DK stunned. Swap out. Lawn him. And there's, of course, the Omni Slash coming through for Burning. Earth Splitter's on the ground. Blade Fury going through. Damage still not that much. DK's kind of low, but CGZ goes down so quickly. Now, U9, Soul Assumption, the right clicks, Medallion of Courage as well. Fade Bolt coming through. Mushi, Ball Lightning forward. He wants more. 2 down. Blade Fury up. Now another falling. Mushi with a double kill, and DK are taking everything. And I guess Tongfu wanted to take something, but I don't know if that was the way to do it.
I think that was the last option that they kind of had left. I don't think they'd scouted out Roshan, but they knew that they were just... They'd made all of the smoke attempts. Neither of them have panned out, and at that point, the longer that the game goes on, the further and further ahead DK gets. So they forced the fight. They tested to see if they could win a fight, or if they had any chance of winning a fight. With the way that things were, it turned out that they didn't, and they're just going to tap out. So that's the end of Tongfu WZ's run in this competition, unfortunately. No lower bracket, no safety net.
Yeah, and it's a tough team to go up against in your first round. I mean, really the juggernaut of the Chinese scene, at least as of right now, other than Vici Gaming, of course. And so Team DK are going to move on to the round of 8, obviously, the round of 16, a 2-0 up against Tongfu Wanzhou. Wanzhou, like you mentioned, they're going to be done here. So already the first best of 3 done tonight. We have 3 more to go for you guys, so make sure you stick around. Before we head out of here, though, Basekip, where can they find you?
All right, so it's all under the name of Basekip. So Facebook is Basekip, Twitter is Basekip, everything is Basekip. So if anybody wants to figure out what I'm up to, that's your best port of call.
It's so simple, too. So easy, man. I wish I can do that. Sadly, not so much. I, of course, am Mal. You can follow me at twitter.com/Malk32. Once again, thanks for joining us, guys, here on Beyond the Summit. Make sure you follow the channel. Big shout-out to BTS for having us once again. And so we'll take a quick break and jump into the next best of 3 in just a moment, guys. So stick around.